Here we go. Looks like we're live. And actually, yeah, make sure you're recording also.
I'm good.
Cool. Yeah, me too. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. The first episode of the rebooted Wrestling Estate Podcast, the Wrestling Estate Freak Show Podcast. I'm your charming host, Jack Goodwillie. And I'm here with my first guest of the rotating second of our I almost said Wrestledelphia. Wrestling Estate Roundtable, Mr.
Ooh, we're
Editor
off to a shitty start. Look out.
Mr. Editor-in-Chief John Corrigan. John, how's it going?
Jack, let me just say it is a pleasure to be the first guest. I am thrilled that Mihalis is not the first guest. And thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the new and improved Freak Show podcast.
You know what, man? I have to say, I like his takes on stuff, though. Getting to know him a little bit during the Team Left Jab special that'll be coming out soon.
Yeah, he claims to be a fan. He's a big. Well, first of all, I should just say it up front. He became a Hulk Hogan fan post 2015. I
So what
want
does
people
that
to
what does
know
that
that.
mean?
Well, once he saw Hulk Hogan's true colors and realized that Hulk didn't like a specific color, Mihalis started jumping on the bandwagon.
What would his true colors even be? It's not red and yellow. It's
They
not
used
black
to
and
be red
white.
and yellow.
I don't
Listen,
know.
I support the Hulkster through and through, but Mihalis, man, my God, he started writing them fan letters. He started really dusting off his red and yellow bandana.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
I'm telling you, as soon as the National Enquirer put that story out, my God, it was unbelievable.
He does love that theme, doesn't he?
Oh, well, he's a patriot. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. So now that we're getting into the nitty gritty, I believe you have something you want to ask me about.
Well, let me just say that we are having an excellent week at the Wrestling Estate. Everybody is contributing articles and pieces, and everybody hopped on the podcast. Everybody sharing on social media, and one man in particular who's not affiliated with the Wrestling Estate, but by God, does he have a large, large, large following? Joey Ryan happened to happened to retweet Earl Gardner, our photographer who does amazing photography covering all kinds of wrestling all across the country. He was live at the WrestleCon Super Show this past April, where Joey Ryan took part in the Andy Kaufman Intergender Challenge. And you wouldn't believe it, but Jerry the King Lawler answered the call, and Joey Ryan happened to retweet that slideshow.
Well, how nice.
Listen, the guy's got 100,000 followers. I think he's a real saint.
He's um he's something. I'll give him that.
Well, what's your beef with Joey
Okay.
Ryan?
Well, okay. So with Joey Ryan, let me just get this out of the way right now. I think Joey Ryan is an awesome wrestler. I think that he never really got the credit he's been due throughout his career. I don't think there's any like standout matches that necessarily come to mind, but as a character, and as a personality in the pro wrestling business, I think he's phenomenal. He always had a great look to him. I loved him when he came into TNA, and I'd obviously heard about him and seen bits and pieces of him. Not certainly not the whole package. In
Whoa!
his in his championship wrestling from Hollywood run, although he still operates but regardless, I'm just not a fan of the dick thing. The dick, what's with the dick? Like some people love it, some people hate it. Like my buddy Jim Cornette, former co-host, loves it. Troy Tariff. I don't know what his deal is. He loves it too much, I think.
I can tell you from living with Troy for a year, Troy loves the dick.
Really?
It's
Really?
just something. You look at him, you don't really get that impression, but I'll tell you, I've seen a couple things.
This kind of reminds me of the story where Owen Hart pranks Jim Cornette, and Jim tells Stu that Bruce Pritchard's a pervert. It's one of my favorite stories. But no, listen, like Joey Ryan, I don't hate Joey Ryan. I don't wish him a bad life. Joey Ryan doesn't know who I am. So it's just kind of funny me talking about him like this. Like I hear these radio hosts all the time, talking about how they have heat with wrestlers, and they don't even know the guy. They don't like this Don Tony character and Ken Castle. I think that's crazy to me. I don't have heat. I don't have heat with Joey Ryan. We just like to have fun here on the Wrestling Estate Freak Show. But no, I think he's a great wrestler, and I just wish that he wouldn't resort to tactics that are going to undermine the business to a lot of people. Some people think wrestling's fake, like fake, phony fake. Like we talked a little bit about that on the Father's Day roundtable, and we don't need people going around like furthering that stereotype when you can like get yourself over in like other more organic types of ways. That's just my take.
Well, I'm not going to really play devil's advocate because I've never actually seen Joey Ryan do his dick stunts, but I'm all for creativity. I'm all for innovation. And if this is a way for this guy to make a huge career and make lots of money without really hurting himself or his opponent, then why not? Why not go for it? I mean, Scotty Too Hotty had the worm. The Rock did the people's elbow. Joey Ryan whips his dick out.
One of those is not like the other.
Well, I mean, the worm. I mean, come on now. The worm kind of destroys all credibility.
Yeah, but the worm's like a legitimate like dance move too.
Yeah,
when I first heard about the worm, I thought he actually did the worm on top of his opponent, like a splat. I think that would be kind of cool.
I mean, the worm.
Then I saw what it was. Well, here's the thing. Like,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, I remember going on WWE.com and looking at Scotty Too Hotty's bio, and I saw this finisher was the worm. I thought that's what it was. I thought that he would worm splash onto his opponents, but because he never won, I never saw the move. So then I get the SmackDown versus Raw video game, and I see what it is, and I'm like, oh, it kind of sucks.
And so his opponent is just unconscious for 10 to 15 minutes, all from a bulldog. And it's not even a traditional bulldog. It's a little face plant. And he's laying on the floor long enough for Scotty. Now, listen, I was a huge Scotty Too Hotty fan. I still am. I'm not knocking Scotty. I'm just saying. I mean, something like the worm, the people's elbow, Joey Ryan's dick. I think these are things that are just pure elements of pro wrestling, of American pro wrestling. This entertainment act, this facade. I think it just all adds to it. But I do totally see your point, Jim Cornette's point, everybody else's point. I mean, hell, Lawler even said, he wasn't doing the dick thing, so that wasn't going to happen. So I see everyone's point, and I think it's just a fun topic to talk about. Now, obviously, I'm not going to argue with you like Troy did, because that was just pure entertainment, easily one of the funniest things I've ever listened to.
Yeah, every time Troy opens his mouth, it's a riot. So yeah, it's good fun. The Braun Strowman thing got me pretty good too. Stuff like that, if I could do without it, and like I think you're talented, like don't go there.
Would you know who Joey Ryan was if he didn't whip his dick out?
Yeah, I did.
You knew?
I did. Yeah. I told you I was a fan of his brief run in TNA.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
What did he? No, not at all. I don't know anything about this man except his big, massive dick.
Oh my god! Well, wow.
That's all I know, and he's got a mustache.
Well, we claim to be TNA people, the Wrestling Estate, like especially given our great working relationship, but they were doing an ultimate, not like Ultimate Fighter. It was more like an American Idol type thing for a while, where they'd have like 3 judges. One was Bruce Pritchard, one was Taz, and then one was Ric Flair, who they replaced with Al Snow, because I think his name was like Jesse Silva or something like that. They weren't going to allow him on, but then he cut a promo, and Ric Flair went against the script and changed his mind, so they had to give him a contract. So they had to get rid of him as a judge, and they replaced him with Al. But no, the build was, they were doing this week after week, and then finally Joey Ryan comes on, and he cuts a great promo. He's a nice little match. I think he's got a great look. Bruce Pritchard compared him to Ron Burgundy. But they just didn't let him in, so he wouldn't accept that. He wouldn't take no for an answer. So he's feuding with the judges, and eventually has a payoff match with Al Snow or something like that. It was a nice little thing, and then Mac Morgan became his muscle, and then they just kind of faded away after that. But the build was just kind of work him in, and I think he's talented as all hell. I just why like, is it that fun? Is it that fun? Like I don't know.
Well, I mean, you see the reaction it gets. You see that he's really made his career based off it. He's got all this, I mean, it's so tough these days to break out on the indie scene because there's so much talent out there. And this is a guy who probably was drunk one night and said, "Hey, my dick's a weapon. Let me use it." And I would like to be. I'm sure there's probably a million people have probably asked him this, but I'd love to hear how he persuaded his first opponent, that he wanted to try this dick move on.
Well, that'd be a great question. I mean, Joey seems to think enough of our content to blindly retweet. So, hey, maybe he can go on the Team Left Jab crossover show for a little interview.
I would like to hope that he didn't blindly retweet. I would like to hope that he looked through every single photo that Earl Gardner shared and said, "My God, these guys are doing some great work."
I wonder that from time to time. Like, whenever we get like retweets from high profile names in the industry, like, are they checking out our content? Like, if so, that's nice. But thank you for the retweet anyway.
Well, I will tell you that I'm pretty sure that MLW champion Shane Strickland read the article that Dave Gibb wrote about how MLW is building him up as the first champion, how they've dusted off and revitalized this dormant title. A great piece. And I know for a fact that ECWA manager AJ Pan reads our stuff. He even said so, and he even cut a promo based on our last piece about ECWA, which is really I couldn't be more flattered to be an inspiration for some guy's promo. And he's a good dude. He's a good man. He's a good heel manager, which are rare to come by these days. And I think that if we're in a position to not only cover these indie guys, these guys that are out there busting their ass, either every weekend or once a month or whatever they're doing, and for them to appreciate our effort, I think we got a good thing going.
I think so too, and I think Shane probably read Dave's article. It was very detailed, and dealt with him. We all like reading stuff about ourselves. We're all egocentric, and at least to some degree. Me less so than others. I'm very humble personally. Yeah, and to that point, I was thinking about it today, and I'm doing this TNA Rewind series. I started with the first episode last week. I'm on episode 2 now. That's already partially written. But I was thinking about it, and Ken Shamrock, in retrospect, was an optimal choice to take the NWA title in its rebirth. Legitimate, certainly. Big name coming off the WWE run, and his feud with Tito Ortiz at the time in the UFC. And he's a very, not underrated, because I think people that have seen his work give him his due. Give the devil his due at the time, but definitely unheralded, I would say. And so I hope I highly encourage Ken, if you're listening, check out my first piece. I give you some worthy praise.
Well, you said underrated, and I would agree with that, because if you think about it, his run in WWE wasn't as big as it should have been. I mean, UFC was not as popular as it is today. But, I mean, I don't know. You look at the success of Ronda Rousey, and you look at the success of Brock Lesnar. You look at what other MMA guys have done in Impact, and I just feel that Shamrock was relegated to the mid card. He briefly flirted with the idea of a main event run when he challenged Austin, but they never did it. And his stint in WWE was really just that, a stint. He was there from 97 until 99, and he hasn't been back since. They haven't put him in the Hall of Fame. They never reference him. And when you go back now on the network and you see they have so much Attitude Era stuff, and he was a huge part of the Attitude Era when you look at it from that way. I mean, he was in big angles. The referee for Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, a member of the corporation, incorporating a lot of this MMA style wrestling that's commonplace today with like Kurt Angle and Lashley and Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan and all them. Ken was a pioneer, and I think he suffered from being one of the first guys to do that. If he had come in 10 years later, I think he'd be a much bigger star. But we're talking about Impact and TNA's first show. I agree. When you look at the talent from that era, and you mentioned this in your article, Scott Hall seemed to be the favorite. Jeff Jarrett would have been a favorite, and then Ken Shamrock. I mean, a lot of other guys were younger or just mid card guys that were known, but these were three guys that were established players, still in their prime. I mean, maybe not so much Scott Hall, but definitely Jarrett and definitely Shamrock. And it was an interesting choice to go with Ken, and I think a great choice.
Well, they were the first three wrestlers to appear on a TNA show. So, and yeah, and the thing with Ken was at the time, I forget if he was coming off his first fight with Tito or his second was coming up, but I'm not sure where they were at with that. But if you can look at the highlights from the Ken Shamrock Tito Ortiz feud where they're going at it on Best Damn Sports Show and their press conference videos, and then even later when they were coaches on the Ultimate Fighter, Ken had pro wrestling down, and I have certainly my opinions about like how so people out of me, and that's very sad. But at the time, he could go, and Jeff Jarrett at the time was on fire. Scott Hall looked out of it, but he was a name. It was a big name grab for them at the time. So yeah, I just had to get that off my chest there, and I'm excited to press forward with that series. But what do you say we get into the nitty gritty now with these 10 burning questions, which are going to become the staple of this show probably.
I am ready. Let's do it.
So we're going to touch on 10 questions from the week, and it was a busy news week for pro wrestling. We had the Money in the Bank weekend. We had a certain firing. We had some interesting booking decisions. We've got a high-profile contract coming up, or two. And we had a tragic passing as well a couple days ago. But let's get right into it. My first question. Pausing. Maybe put some music here. My first question. Was the WWE, John, justified in their firing of Big Cass? And what do you think is next for him?
Yes, they were justified if he was going against his boss's orders. What do I think is next? I mean, we ran the poll. I think MLW is ideal for him. They're growing. He's got to capitalize quickly. I mean, so many of these guys leave WWE and then they rest on their laurels on their current gimmick, and then they get a month or two of indie shots, and then that's it. We never hear from them again. Damian Sandow, Ryback, the list goes on and on. There's so few guys that reinvent themselves like a Cody Rhodes or a Jack Swagger. So, Big Cass has to fucking capitalize now. And, I think that, I mean, I'm upset, number one, because I liked them. I was impressed that they were finally giving, because everybody talks about they don't give these guys a shot. We sit there and we gripe that it's the same main event people. Roman's getting pushed. Cena's getting pushed. I can't believe people are pissed off that Alexa Bliss is getting pushed. How fucking dare they besmirch the goddess? But somebody like Big Cass was finally getting the shot. The guy was cutting promos. I mean, what was wrong with the promos? He's a big guy. As a short person, I'm 5'8". I lie on Tinder and say 5'9". As a short guy.
You have to.
Yeah, of course you have to. We don't have a chance out there.
I'm 6'1".
You're
Not
6'1"?
really. I'm like 5'11". I know, in my profiles. I'm 5'11".
That was a heel turn.
But I slapped.
I was about to boo you. So
I wish.
And he just had the best match that he had, the best match he'll ever have on Sunday at Money in the Bank against Daniel Bryan. They've invested all this time into this guy, and to just get rid of him is very disappointing. But at the same time, if you're WWE and you've got a guy under contract and he's not following orders, it's just like that in any job. You don't follow the orders, you're gone.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Insubordination is always going to be a just cause for firing, no matter who you are. Now, there's a lot of, talk in pro wrestling that if you're a top guy, you can get away with going off script, and it's oftentimes more encouraged than staying on script in some cases. But if you're not that guy, and you do go off script, and you do take the approach of it being better to ask for forgiveness and permission, and that's going to be a problem. My thing with Big Cass is, and I'm just speculating, he strikes me as a guy. I feel like he was always giving maximum effort when the camera was on. But what's he doing when the camera's off? And he knows that people aren't necessarily going to be watching him. Is he someone that puts it on cruise control? Or is he at this carrying this pace all throughout, like whether it's attending run-throughs or going through the script writers. I heard there was a problem with Kevin Dunn trying to get him to come to some rehearsal, and he blew it off. Then I heard that drinking was a problem, and drinking is never a problem. I mean, this is pro wrestling.
I was going to say, you should get a promotion for that.
I heard stuff about him being a Donald Trump supporter. I mean, that shouldn't have any impact either, honestly. And the incident with the door in the bathroom, did you hear about that one?
I did. I heard all these things. And the only one that, in my mind, holds any validation is him blowing off Kevin Dunn for a rehearsal. I mean, I don't know. What's wrong with a rehearsal? Why not go to the rehearsal? You see these, these documentaries on the network whenever they do like a WrestleMania, 24, something like that. Everybody goes through rehearsal, man. They go through the Hall of Fame. They do WrestleMania entrances and stuff. Go to rehearsal. I don't know. He's still learning. He's not a veteran. Why not learn from these people? And why piss off Kevin Dunn of all people?
Yeah, we can say whatever we want about Kevin Dunn, and I have in the past, and I maybe will again one day. But, respect your authority. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's next for him? Well, I guess that depends. Dave Meltzer, with all his sources, seems to think that he might not be a guy that is able to keep the momentum going after he comes back and maybe just kind of fades away. I hope he is, because he does. In every interview I've seen, I saw him on the E60 NXT special. He struck me as a guy that really cared, that really wanted to be a star. And, if he's thinking enough of his character to go off script, I think I would respect that in some way. I heard that he had a falling out with Enzo Amore, real one, as I guess he now calls himself. Whether they get back together for some sort of shoot interview or indie run, that remains to be seen. But, money does talk. MLW would be interesting for him just because they don't have a guy like him. He's 7 feet tall. There's not a lot of well, I don't think he's 7 feet tall, but I do know that he is big. He is big. I've seen him wrestle live, and I was just stunned at just how big he was. WWE embellishes heights all the time, but not him. No, he's a solid 6'11". He might have an inch on Kevin Nash. I wish him the best.
In retrospect, do you think they made the wrong move splitting up Enzo and Cass?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because you look back, we were talking about wrestling entrances, and I kind of threw out the Enzo and Cass theme as like being like a dark horse theme, because for these NXT live shows, they just throw them out there in the beginning and they just get this massive reaction. People, once upon a time, people loved these guys. And in splitting them up, people learned to hate them. Whether it was dirt sheet stories about Enzo getting kicked off a bus, or Big Cass being a Donald Trump supporter, or then the recent thing of Vince not wanting him to kick the midget, and then he did it. Yeah, I would. In retrospect, I wouldn't have done it, and I would have gone one further and give them the proper tag title run, if only for a month. Just to see, because they were over, and they were over like Rover.
I completely agree, and they should have got the tag title run. I kind of think that if the Hardys had not returned at WrestleMania 33, probably Big Cass and Enzo had a good chance of winning the tag titles at a WrestleMania. I mean, they were, a good opening act. I mean, there's not many, I don't know, like this, who's the guy? No Way Jose. I mean, come on now. He's not a good opening act. This guy's a jabroni. But Enzo and Cass were over. They were too cool for for the modern era. And I think it's just a shame as to what happened. I mean, Enzo was a heel in 205 Live. Don't get me wrong. That was fantastic. But Jesus Christ, this is one of the biggest falls from grace in wrestling history. These guys were huge. These guys were, the crowds were going crazy. Their merchandise was selling hot. And then within like a few months, it's all over. I mean, they were, I don't know how long they were in NXT, but I know on the main roster, they were what, together for a year and a half, and then that was it. They split up.
Yeah, it was not that long. And by the time they got called up, I thought they were going to get called up a lot earlier than they did. Also, I was surprised it took as long as it did. It's amazing. It is a fall from grace, though. Dave Meltzer said that he thought that once upon a time, I don't think he thinks this now, obviously, but going back in time to maybe the time of their call up, he thought that Enzo, with his skills on the mic, could be like the next great manager in wrestling. And if you wanted to phase him and Big Cass out as a tag team, then why not let him be the mouthpiece for Big Cass in the singles run? Get him over and then turn him heel. You're getting more bang for your buck.
I like that idea. I think that's great. I mean, Enzo is a wrestler. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't that. He was pretty garbage, but on the mic, I mean, I don't know, he's got to be one of the best today. I'd put him up there as one of the best ever. I mean, this guy was fire. He's just very quick. I mean, sometimes they would put him out there for these when he was a babyface and they put him out there. My God, that could get a little weak, but when he was a singles, but when he's a heel, I mean, I remember, I think they ended a Raw one time where he just roasted the entire 205 division. I mean, that was fantastic. It was hilarious. I was cracking up at every insult, and that's a guy you could make money with. But, I don't even want to get into all the shit that happened with Tim. I don't even know what to say about it. I hope he reinvents himself on the indie scene. I hope he pursues his passion. I hope he stays away from rap because Jesus, nobody needs that.
Oh my God. I don't think we'll be seeing him wrestling much unless the pay is going to be really good. I do think we'll be seeing him rap more. Maybe not. I'm not going to like click on those links. You kidding? Sorry, Enzo, but I think you're a kind of a bad person. And I don't like rap anyway, so nothing personal. But it is personal.
Either. The hell with it. Rap is crap. Mr. Perfect was right.
Yeah, that's a great line. Let's move on to number 2. Not to, dwell on the negatives, or maybe I'm just getting it out of the way, but we saw some things on Raw. Maybe, I don't know. Let me just get into this. Worst feud of the year so far. Sasha versus Bayley or Lashley versus Zayn?
Oh, that's tough.
I know you don't like the Lashley you didn't like the Lashley versus Zayn thing. And not many people did.
You didn't like it either. Nobody
liked it. I didn't. No.
Well, I mean, if this Sasha and Bayley thing is going to keep going on, just for wasting more time, it has to be the worst. Because the Lashley Zayn thing at least was, what, a month, and then, he destroyed him. I will say the match was good from a storyline sense where Lashley just destroyed Zayn, didn't even beat him with his regular moves. He just kept doing the same 2 power moves over and over. I like that. I thought that fit well. But this Sasha and Bayley thing, the fans want. This is what I don't understand. Like WWE's finally giving us what we want in terms of celebrating Rusev Day every single day. But the fans have wanted Sasha and Bayley, to pull the trigger on this thing months ago. They wanted it before WrestleMania. And they're just dragging it and dragging it. Some weeks they forget about it. Other weeks it's apparently going to burst. So, and I don't even know who I'm going to cheer for. Like, I don't know who's the heel. I don't know I don't know anything. It's so confusing. It just seems like a catty high school fight. I mean, if I was Sasha Banks, why in God's name would I want to be friends with Bayley? She sucked for the past 2 years. What am I going to keep her around for? To look hotter? Is that the only reason?
Whoa. Yeah, I'll plant my flag right now. not only do I think Sasha versus Bailey is the worst feud of the year, I think it's one of the worst feuds in the last 10 years. Maybe since I've become a fan of wrestling. And back in the day, it was so regimented. Now it's just a fucking clusterfuck. And this is like one of those. I don't know if you've ever played the 2K games, but WWE Universe mode where just random shit happens. That's the Sasha and Bailey thing. Then they keep going back to it and they back away. And then this week, they really hit a fever pitch when I guess Bailey threw that drink at her. But we're gonna probably see them as friends again, and I don't care. I don't like now. NXT Brooklyn's a distant memory. I don't care how well these girls work in the ring. I know one thing: they can't act. Sasha has no mic skills as a face. She never has. At this point, she's been on the main roster since the Women's Revolution. Probably dating myself. I feel like that's been going back almost 3 years now.
2015.
Jesus Christ. That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time to not develop any mic skills as a face. As a heel, it's a completely different story. And we saw that with NXT. And Bailey just has no mic skills, period. She's just best when she's selling and hugging and giving people Bailey to bellies. That's really all there is. It really shouldn't be that hard to get these girls to feud. Just turn Sasha, set some matches up, and let them story tell in the ring because that's what they're good at. Wrestling's all about playing up strengths and hiding weaknesses. They're not playing up any of these girls' strengths, and they have strengths. They're good. Don't get me wrong. But they're playing up the weaknesses to make them look like asshats. Week after, not just one time, not 2 times, but week after week after week. And I don't know, man. Like the Bailey versus Alexa feud was bad too. But this, I don't know.
Well, you mentioned NXT Brooklyn. You have to think that's what they're trying to do. That's why they've dragged this thing out because I guess SummerSlam's coming back to Brooklyn. Maybe they're looking to try and catch the magic in the bottle one more time, but that's going to be so tough. And they just had an incredible run in NXT. Anything they do on the main roster is going to pale in comparison. And Bailey's damaged goods. Like you got to reinvent her completely. She's toast. She's Bray Wyatt toast. It's done. It's over. You got to change something up. Maybe a heel turn. I don't know. Because here's the thing: if this was any other company, Bailey could go out there and tell these little girls that they suck, like Carmella almost did on SmackDown this week, where she said, "If you have dreams, chase them," or whatever. I thought she was going to be like, if you have dreams, just give up now. Just forget it. It's over. You aren't going to accomplish shit. But WWE is corporate and sanitized, and they're all about empowering Special Olympians and bullying victims and women's history, Black history. It's all a big PR thing. So they're not going to do that. So I don't know what you do with Bailey, but I agree with you. Obviously, you turn Sasha heel, you fix the shit up. Now here's the other problem though. If you turn Sasha heel and put her against Bailey right now, Bailey is even more than toast because the crowd's just going to rally behind Sasha because she's just more entertaining as a heel.
Right. It's an impossible situation. I mean, you're essentially in turning Sasha heel,
turning her face,
turning Bailey heel. Yeah, exactly. And then maybe when they could break off of that match and go their ways is, being separate but equal heels in different ways.
Perhaps Bailey needed to go to SmackDown. I mean, maybe they shouldn't have stayed on the same roster all these years together.
I thought for sure one of them was moving.
Instead, you got your wish of Natalya coming to Raw.
My wish?
I know you're a big Natalya fan.
Well, you know what? Natalya is not on the list of topics for today, but I'll just say this. I'll leave you with this on this question because I think you agree that Sasha versus Bailey is worse than Lashley versus Sammy, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, with Natalya, good wrestler.
Let me quickly defend the one redeeming quality of the Lashley Sami Zayn feud.
Yeah.
I saw people online complaining about it. This is a good topic actually.
Should
People said that Sami Zayn went too far when he talked about Lashley not serving in the military. I thought that saved the angle. I thought that made a lot of sense. Why, if you're going to be a heel, why not? I mean, Lashley clearly served. It's something. I mean, you got to have something there. Why not question it? And then get these people, I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's just because I'm in Northeast Philly, but for some reason these people still hold on to these USA, pro USA angles, anything to do with the military. So if you know that that's going to connect with your audience, go for it. Keep going for it. And I think that was a different play. I don't recall them ever doing that before. Sami Zayn, I mean, at least he was given a lot of mic time. He's not someone that I'd expect to deliver in this, and I thought he did. So I like that. But you got all these people online, not all these people. I don't know why I'm picking on all of our fans, but some people, and I saw that. I'll name specifically. There's a girl with a big following who's from Pittsburgh on Twitter who complains whenever there's anything somewhat serious. She was really offended by the Nia Jax being fat angle, really offended by Sammy Callahan stalking Eddie Edwards' wife. I'm sure she was offended by the women in drag for the Lashley thing. These people that get offended, this is what pro wrestling is. This is it. It's the one place where you can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You're there to draw money. And if you do it properly, in the end, the good guy wins.
John, I love that take.
If you're
gonna be a heel, be a fucking heel. And
be a heel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll give Troy credit. He really embraced that role until he kept turning, and then the crowd kind of turned on him, and we never saw him again. But Sammy is a heel. I don't put any of this on Sammy or Lashley, by the way. That whole the stupidity of that angle is on the writing team. And that's it's too bad for the wrestlers, because if you were to drop Sammy and Bobby back in TNA, they'd have a hell of a match. Like they're going all out, like back and forth offense. That would be a hell of a thing, especially because Sammy is one of the best sellers in the company. Lashley's offense is so legitimate, But not people, don't get offended with wrestling, man. Come on. Like, then those same people complain about the heels not being heels, and
exactly,
you got to pick one. I'll leave Natalya for another time. I think she's a sweet girl. I'm not gonna do that today. Question number 3: favorite match of Money in the Bank weekend?
Well, I have not even seen NXT yet. I know. Listen, Saturday night was a wild time. We'll have to talk about that off the air. But Money in the Bank. I mean, if anybody saw Calvin Gibbons' review of Money in the Bank, I'm in complete agreement. Solid B plus, one of the best pay-per-views in a long time. I thought there was a lot of good stuff on that show. So Money in the Bank weekend, I will say I really liked AJ and Nakamura. I thought that they really tore the house down, and it was a fight. It was a real fight. I will say I think they started the last man standing match with a lockup, which was out. I could see like Jim Cornette having a conniption about that. But other than that, I mean, they quickly went balls to the wall. I thought that was the best match.
I agree with that for sure. One thing I did see on Twitter that I don't agree with, but some people were giving him unnecessary flack for it, like totally uncalled for, like comments and stuff, was our pal, Mr. JRH Writing, said this was better than WrestleMania 31. Is that right?
Who are you talking about, Justin Henry?
Yeah, Mr. JRH Writing.
What did he say? Money in Bank was better than WrestleMania 31?
Yeah, that's what. Because remember, at the end of the night, that guy replied to him and said, "You're like a doo-doo head" or something like that. and Justin was like, and you were like, that's not called for. And then Justin was like, "I take it in jest."
Well, I only said that because we had been attacked all night for a certain tweet, and I was thinking that these people are kind of crazy, because I would engage with them in a polite way, and of course I'd be ignored. Here's my stance on this whole thing. If you're going to attack someone about a tweet, about anything, and they willingly engage you in conversation, if you don't take them up on the conversation, you're a dickhead. The hell with them. I mean, these people. I don't even know what they said to Justin, but I don't know. I mean, I just think people online are a big. I mean, listen. Since I've been manning the Twitter, and I'm seeing more and more people and seeing more and more wrestling fans and seeing what they really think and talk about and shit, my mind's blown. Like when we talk about wrestling, we are not like that. When my friends and I talk about wrestling, they're not like that. When my coworkers and I talk about wrestling, it's very fun. It's a very like we enjoy it. These people are vicious. They're vicious people, and you know you don't know if they're trolling or if they truly believe it. And so that's why I got involved with that. But for somehow to get back to what you brought up, I will say, well, look, if you really look at WrestleMania 31, you've got Lesnar and Reigns with the greatest ending of all time, and I think that is what people really judge that show on. Make no mistake about it, they are not judging it on Triple H versus Sting.
No, no.
What else happened on that show? Rusev came out in a tank and Cena beat him.
Yeah, you had Seth Rollins with the greatest sell of the RKO ever.
Yes, that was a good match. You had a D-Bry won the ladder match for the IC title, but they all blend together. No one's gonna remember that.
I don't really.
I think like Paige and AJ beat the Bellas.
It was nice.
It was nice.
It was
I
cool.
mean, what do you got? You don't have much of a show to really call one of the greatest aside from the ending, and that's always what people are going to judge something on.
I don't call it one of the greatest. I say it's one of the best WrestleManias of modern times.
Right.
The ending, WrestleMania. That's what WrestleMania needs. You ever played and you take your wrestler through career mode, take him up to WrestleMania, you get this epic ending with the confetti coming down at the end. And that's what we need every single time. If it's really going to be the Super Bowl of wrestling, that is. You also the Ronda Rousey appearance. Her first appearance in WWE.
That took too long to get to that.
Yeah, it did. But actually, there weren't that many matches on that show. There were only 9, if you could believe it. We've come a long way. Like now, WrestleManias are double that length.
It's
and
insane.
That felt long anyway. So.
Oh, we forgot Taker and Bray Wyatt for a dumb return.
Yeah, but that sucked too. So listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that WrestleMania 31 was a great show. It was a good show, and I think Money in the Bank was above average. But above average is not.
Oh, good. Wait a minute. What? Why? Why do you say that?
Well, listen, I'll add that Nakamura's follow-up to it and why he couldn't answer the 10 count was incredible on SmackDown. If you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
He weren't counting in Japanese, and yeah, it wasn't fair. And he'll be just fine, I think. I like that. Nia versus Ronda was good. I liked the Alexa cash-in. I don't think I liked the men's Money in the Bank match as much as a lot of people did.
Really?
But it's like you said. I think they all blend together.
I thought it was great, though. I thought they really got over Strowman. I thought that it had like a real story to it. And the only thing that I don't like is Owens falls off the damn ladder. He's back on Raw and he's healthy. He's fine.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I wasn't thrilled with Braun winning anyway. With Alexa winning, it was fine. And the cash-in was good. She probably should have never lost the title anyway. But,
agreed.
It's another story. It was a good show. It was better than a lot of the shows we've been getting recently. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Was it better than a WrestleMania? No, I won't go there. But anyway, my favorite match of the weekend, John, was Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet from NXT TakeOver. I thought those guys, especially given their spot on the card, tore the fucking house down, and are two future main eventers of the next 5 years, 100%. I make a lot of comments about how I don't like the Ricochet Will Ospreay style of flips and dives and shit. At least if it's not going to be meant to cause like a lethal offense or anything like that. But Ricochet is all the freaking potential in the world. He's such a great athlete, and Velveteen Dream. Need I say more? I don't know what inspired the Hulk Hogan look, but actually, I read on Reddit today that the first, I think, 10 minutes of that match was a mirror image of the first 10 minutes of Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania X8.
That's pretty cool.
Like Velveteen Dream was doing all the Hogan pose down and all that stuff, and it had a proper build, and then the storytelling was epic. It was epic stuff. The way they were able to interact in the match, and they were able to tell stories with their faces.
Why do you think that the storytelling is superior on NXT than WWE?
Well, in NXT, you have Hall of Fame coaches like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Jason Albert, just kind of pushing the buttons on that. But on the main roster,
wait a minute. We're talking about A-Train? Is that who you're referencing?
Well, yeah, isn't he still the head trainer? Is he not?
Did you not say Hall of Fame trainers?
Well, I wasn't going to say his name, but then I don't know. I think Steve Corino is, I like my point is
A-Train.
Hey, listen. At least he's not bullying people around like Bill DeMott.
Are you talking about Hugh Morris?
No, I'm talking about Bill DeMott. No. My point is, in NXT, they've got to answer to like these, credible wrestling people. On the main roster, they got to, answer to people like you and me that are yes men for Kevin Dunn and company. That's, I think that's what it kind of boils down to. And for whatever reason, they just overlook these key elements that make things great. Ciampa versus Gargano was awesome too. And I love the finish. And I love that Tommaso went over. And I hope that the next takeover is versus Aleister Black. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I encourage anybody that has not seen the Velveteen Dream Ricochet match, go check that out. These guys, man, this is the future of wrestling right there. That's what NXT is all about, in my opinion. But that was a good show too. It was better than Money in the Bank, but they constantly set the bar really high there. So
I wish I had more to offer. I didn't see it. I will though. I will. I mean, right now, there's just so much wrestling out there. If you miss something, you're screwed. You've got Raw and SmackDown, and when I watch these things, it's not necessarily that I'm like really invested. I'm trying to get us hits on the damn site. I'm trying to grow the following here. So I've got to, really, so that's, Raw SmackDown 5 hours right there. Then you got Impact 2 hours, but I love Impact. I don't mind that. MLW an hour. But I love MLW. I try to watch House of Hardcore. Sometimes that lasts 3 minutes. You never know what Tommy's really feeling. And then you've got what else am I missing? I don't know. And then you got the network, all the old stuff. If you want to watch that, you've got the pay-per-views, you've got the NXT takeovers. I mean, there's just so much. What am I missing? Ring of Honor. There's Lucha Underground's back now. It's a
Global
fucking
Wrestling Network.
It's a great problem to have.
It is a great problem to have. I mean, it's really not a problem at all. It's just kind of picking and choosing what you want to watch. And while I wouldn't put this takeover in maybe the top 5 takeovers ever, it's kind of like in like Pac-Man or something. If you're really good at it, you keep setting the high score and the bar is just so freaking high. And then you have a really good score and it's just not in the top 5. That's kind of what this takeover was. It's a great show though. And I highly encourage everybody to check out that Velveteen Dream match. Man, what a star that kid is going to be. Let's go to number 4. Buy or sell and we're gonna have a couple buy or sell questions coming up. So, buy or sell Rusev as a future WWE champion.
Bye. Bye, bye, bye. I love, first of all, happy Rusev Day to you. I don't think I threw that out there
Yeah,
yet.
man. Shalom.
Yeah, that too. And, Troy's not here anymore, right?
L'Chaim, I don't know.
So, I mean, first of all, I was shocked. I wasn't shocked that Rusev became number one contender because he's Rusev. I was shocked because it just seemed natural. Miz is a heel, Styles is a face. That would be your next pay-per-view matchup. But no, they swerved us, and Rusev is now with, oh my God, the gorgeous Lana and I mean, a modern day Shakespeare, Aiden English, and the whole trio is going to Extreme Rules to take on the phenomenal one. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement there. A lot of the times when these shows happen, and not I'm not talking about WWE. I'm talking about like, these types of podcast shows where we have multiple points. Like the host will conspire beforehand to disagree on purpose. We're not doing that. I agree with Rusev. Being a future WWE champion. I don't know if it should happen against AJ, but at the same time, I also think the WWE kind of missed the boat with the whole Rusev Day thing. I feel like the waves are not as high tide as they once were, if you know what I mean. And that worries me a little bit. But listen, Rusev's freaking great. I think he and AJ are going to have an awesome match. And I don't know what the dynamic's going to be. I mean, this will be the second feud in a row where AJ started off working a fellow face. And, of course, the Nakamura feud went the way that it did. I don't think we'll have that here. I think this will probably just be a one-off to get us to SummerSlam, where we'll probably then get AJ and The Miz. But I'm excited for the match. It's going to be a good one. And I think
Yeah.
Rusev can be on Twitter during Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon loves historically pushing these ethnic characters, whether it's the over-the-top Rusev coming out to tank, or it's like the working class Bruno Sammartino. Through time, you kind of find these patterns, and I think Rusev can now be like go from being like this evil Russian cartoon character to being like this ethnic like happy-go-lucky babyface, because he's actually a very funny and very charming guy. And I never would have thought that after he debuted. So kudos to him for changing my mind, or at least making me consider that I could maybe one day change my mind.
I am a fan of length and tradition and things to last a very long time. So, at the detriment of Rusev and The Miz and whoever else, I would actually love if Styles would keep the title until he's ready to say goodbye. I think, I mean, this is ideal. He's easily the best wrestler in the company. He's super popular. He's by all accounts someone they can trust, someone that you're not going to see do anything crazy or be a liability. He's a veteran. He doesn't have, another 10 years in him probably. He's reached his peak. He's paid his dues. This is your ideal champion. They've got everything that they're looking for. So I would keep the title on him. If you need someone to win a world title, in quotes, then, I'm sure that the Beast will not be holding on to that for very much longer. Send them to Raw and do all your quick hot potato changes over there. But just like I was looking forward to Alexa Bliss holding on to that briefcase for a whole year. They have not done that yet. That's the one thing left they have to do, is to have someone hold that briefcase from Money in the Bank to Money in the Bank. That would be epic. They were close with Carmella, but I mean that was such a lackluster, thing. For some reason they got rid of Ellsworth during it, which made no sense, but um
And after all these years, you'd think that they'd, at least consider that being a possibility.
yeah, I mean it's been what? It's been over 10 years. It's been like 13 years that they've been doing this concept. So yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to celebrate Rusev Day with the championship victory, I don't think the time is anytime soon for Styles to lose that title. And at the risk of ruining your other questions, I wish they didn't take the title off Seth, the Intercontinental title.
Well,
Right? Is that one of them?
that is the next question. Buy or sell.
Oh,
Number
look at this
5.
chemistry.
Dude, I love it. This is good. This is gonna be good. Number 5. Buy or sell Dolph Ziggler as the current Intercontinental Champion.
It's not even Dolph that's my problem. I don't care who it was. I mean, obviously Dolph. I don't know. They're giving him a push. He's rejuvenated with McIntyre. I think this is only going to lead to McIntyre versus Dolph and McIntyre winning. But I don't know. You've got. I mean, Miz put a lot of work into rejuvenating and revitalizing the Intercontinental title. Rollins picked up where Miz left off, took it to even greater heights. He's more over now than he's ever been. We're getting excellent matches, just like we did during the. I hate that I'm going to give him a compliment, but during the Cena U.S. title challenge, and it just seemed like, why are we stopping this now? They do this so much. We talked about it with Enzo and Cass. They killed them too early. At the Team Left Jab panel, Gib brought up the honkometer. They killed that off too early. Bo Dallas's winning streak, they killed that off too early. Let's let something ride or die. Let's go.
I'm with you. And you know what? Going back to my problems with Money in the Bank, the only thing with Alexa winning again is that now she's a 5-time women's champion. That puts her in the elite all-time company, and she's only been up for about 2.5 years now. It's a little much for me.
I think when you're that hot, that just happens in life.
Yeah, well, she is, and I'm not as mad about that as I was about Randy Orton being like a 10-time champion and as quick as he
That's absurd.
That was, and I like him. But do I buy or sell Dolph as the champ? Yeah, I don't. How do you the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, how do we build prestige for a title? Is it good matches? Is it hot potato changes? Is it long, drawn out title reigns? Is it great feuds with the belt, over the belt? That's what, and people, seem to think that long title reigns are automatically going to build prestige. Look at Brock Lesnar. I mean, listen, John, I'm not trying to push your buttons or anything like that. But the fact is, that belt does not get defended. So how does that belt just it automatically have prestige because Brock has it? The matches haven't been that great. There's been maybe a pinch, maybe 2 or 3 great Universal title matches over the years.
Well, that's because he's got to slog through this shit with Roman all the time. If you take him out, maybe things will look brighter. The match with Styles was good. The match with Joe was good. I know you love the triple threat with Strowman and Kane.
The Styles match was not a title match, so
that's true. That's true.
I mean, I'll still kind of count that though, because it's the Universal Champion beating the WWE Champion. That's gotta mean something. But whatever. Listen, Dolph is one of these guys that's kind of made for this title. Also, I got no problem him carrying it for a little while. And you know what? Rollins could win it back next week. And does that decrease the prestige of the belt? Especially if they have another great match? I don't think so. So I don't have a problem with this at all. I just wish they had some sort of direction, defined direction for him. Because first it's him and McIntyre becoming tag champs, and now it's Dolph with the Intercontinental Championship.
I think that Dolph's time with the Intercontinental title is over, though. I mean, he's done that for so long. He's in a different phase now. Let's move on. Let's keep him in this tag team with McIntyre, or let's put him in the main event challenging for the world title and have McIntyre as his bodyguard or something. I don't know. I just think it's we're going back to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever, when things are so different now. I mean, a lot of people said Elias should have won. I mean, that was a really good match, and Elias showed a lot of fire. I mean, this is a guy that chicks love, that guys find entertaining, who, I don't know. I mean, these are the people you got to capitalize on.
He's improved so much since coming up. He's really his own He's really in a league of his own in that regard with these NXT call-ups.
Yeah. I even forget that he was in NXT. That's how good he is.
Yeah, I'm very happy for him now. I was not a fan of his. I was not a fan of the Drifter character, but I've really come around, and I think he's a future top guy. I compare him to like Scott Hall all the time. I believe that he's great, and I think Dolph will do good things with the title. But we'll see. He may drop it next week, and whatever the case, I'm sure he and Seth will have great matches. Question 6, and one more buy or sell. And it's really more of a question for you than it really is a buy or sell, because I can't seem to find like what the heart of the info here is. But buy or sell, Eli Drake going back to WWE.
Well,
What's going on with him, John?
Listen, I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to say, or I'm disheartened.
I know you're a fan.
I'm a big fan, and Eli Drake, Don Callis on the weekly teleconference gave somebody asked him, who do you see as the next face of the company? And off the top of his head, he gave 9 names. 9 names.
Yep.
And Eli Drake was not one of the names. We shared that article, and every time somebody comments, they say, why isn't Eli on here? God damn, where is Eli? And you look at what Impact has done with Eli. I mean, this is a guy that was their world champion last year. He was kind of the face of the company and a good heel, an entertaining talker. He's not scripted. He's made that very clear, and you can even tell. They built an entire Thanksgiving episode around him just riffing, and it was fantastic television. He is he's not the best in the ring, but I'm not one of these people. I'm like you. I'm not all about the flips and the dives and all that. If you're good on the mic and you can tell a story in the ring, I'm all for it. So, and this year, I mean, he's been a main event guy. He had this fantastic short-lived team with Scott Steiner. And if he goes to WWE, I understand. Listen, everybody wants to go to WWE. They want to make the big money. They want to say they made it. I'm sure if Eli told his friends, "I'm a professional wrestler," and they say, "Oh, well, are you in WWE?" He said, "No, I'm in TNA." They'd be like, "What? Where? Who?" So I get all that. I understand all that. But have we not learned? Was it Churchill who said, "Those who are doomed"? I forget the damn phrase. Who said it, Good Willie? Repeating history, that quote, that quote? Are we too intellectual on this?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was Churchill. Like the quote is on the tip of my tongue. It's just not coming out right now. Well, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Why go to WWE? That's look at what happened to Bobby.
I got a better one. Go ahead. Fool me once, shame on you.
Yes.
Fool me twice, shame on me.
Do we really think, deep down in our hearts, do we really think Eli Drake is going to be in the same position he is now, or better, in WWE? Of course not. He's going to be in NXT, or he's going to be like that fucking Mike Kanellis doing nothing. I mean,
he looks like him too.
He does. This is what I'm exactly. That's what Vince is going to see.
Yeah.
Vince is going to book them as a tag team.
Yeah, the way I kind of look, and I hate to agree with you again, but if you're looking at, well, I find you that agreeable, but here I just can't help myself. You look at the landscape of NXT right now, look at the landscape of the main roster. Shitter's full. All these guys are fighting for NXT TV time. They just made an NXT UK show. So I guess some of those guys are going to go over there. I'm sure Lorcan and Burchill are going to be a tag team over there. They'll be a great fit for that. And maybe that'll free up some room in NXT for Eli to go back and get some TV time. But he's also getting in TNA. And he's kind of, doing what a lot of people, wish they could do. They're writing their own legacy. You look at the Bullet Club in Japan and their exploits in the United States as well. They're kind of doing. They're obviously doing that. They're doing a great job with it. And It's great. But aside from that, you really had Eli Drake kind of like taking the ball and running with it in TNA ever since Ed Nordholm and company took over, and then put Don and D'Amore in charge. And the other thing is he's Canadian, so you'd think that he'd check off all the boxes. I don't know if it's money. I don't know if it's him wanting to be a WWE superstar that bad. EC3, maybe even arguably overstayed his welcome back in TNA. But Eli, I think there's still work to be done. I don't think he's a finished product yet either.
I I don't know if EC3 overstayed his welcome. I mean, this guy, I don't know. See, the problem with Impact, I don't really think this is a problem in WWE because everybody wins the title multiple times. But in Impact, it's like once you had your title run, there's not much else to do. Like they don't really go back to the well that often, other than Jarrett back in the day. It's like you get your title reign and you're on top. You have your chance to draw, and then that's it. You're either shunning down the card or you leave the company.
Yep, and Ring of Honor was famously like that for a while too. Maybe their first 13 or 14 champions were new guys.
And maybe that's what you should do. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think it was until Austin Aries that someone held it twice.
I agree with that. I think I remember reading about that in PWI.
Amazing. But yeah, like it's tough. I wish him the best. I think, but I think that now's the time to hitch your wagon to TNA while you still can.
Agreed. That's a good point.
I'm all about part of my motivation for doing things in life is who am I hitching my wagon and think of it, take this however you want, but who am I hitching my wagon to, and do our visions match up, and where are we going to be in 5 years together? Or am I going to use that to springboard into a different opportunity? But again, I think there's a lot, and there's a lot of guys coming into NXT right now already. Like Keith Lee is coming to NXT. He's going to command a top spot. I don't think Lars Sullivan's going anywhere. Velveteen Dream, Ricochet, EC3, Adam Cole, Undisputed Era. I'd even name Aleister Black. And then you got the whole women's division. So there's just a lot of saturation there. And, I think that there's something to being a big fish in a small pond for a while. But I think that he can milk that a little bit more too. But I guess we'll see what happens. I think he's going, though.
Well, to your point, I mean, you look at the talent pool in Impact, it's not that the roster's not that deep.
Nope.
If you take away the people they bring in, like from Lucha Underground or House of Hardcore, especially for the men, like a man singles run, there's not a lot of people. Eli's in a great position. You've got, you got Aries, Moose, Eli. I mean, those are the top three on my head. John Morrison comes, or Impact, whatever you want to call him. He comes in every now and then. You've got Sammy Callahan and Eddie Edwards. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, he's carving his own legacy. He's doing what he wants to do. They obviously trust him. But it is like, I don't know. Don Callis has this way of telling you exactly how he feels. It's kind of like what JR used to do with his Ross report, or even during commentary sometimes. Where they,
hey, by the way, if I cut you off for a second,
yeah.
What, like, I've always heard about JR's Ross report. What was that? Was that like a blog?
Yeah.
Okay.
He would write it for the magazine, and then when online came, he would do sometimes a weekly blog or monthly or whatever, and he would like touch on topics because he's JR, that's what he does, and he, if you read between the lines, he would say something like this one's in the, he's hungry, he's in the pack or something like that, and chances are this guy would be the number one contender next month, something like that. Where Don Callis, whenever Eli Drake wrestles now, he says, the only thing holding him back is we're not really sure what he wants to do, whether he wants to pursue his acting career or so and so. If Eli can really focus on wrestling. So it's like, it's almost like Don saying, we'll give him the ball if he really wants it, but we don't know if he really wants it.
That's interesting. And honestly, like, if anybody listening to this, follow that story. That's going to be an interesting storyline to see how it plays out over the next month or two. I'm very interested because I think he's a great talent. But with that said, let's move to question 7. If you could change one thing from this weekend's shows, John, what would it be? Whether it's a booking
Uh,
decision or what, whatever.
Probably, I would probably take Coach off of commentary.
Dude, I've had it with him. I've had it.
I'll give you a fun fact. Coach actually came on my Temple radio show back in the day and was a very nice, professional, cool. We talked wrestling. He told good stories. So I can vouch that he's not a bad guy.
I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's not.
But I mean, he's clearly not interested in what he's doing, which is one thing, you know. A lot of us half-ass stuff. But on the other hand, I can't take the double teaming that Cole and Corey do to every time Coach speaks. They either interrupt him or correct him or tell him he's wrong. It is so annoying. It's not the fun interplay that Jesse and Gorilla or Bobby the Brain and Gorilla or even JR and the King had. It's annoying. It's just distracting.
I'm gonna go on a bit of a tirade here. Thank you
Go
for bringing the
ahead.
coach up. I like Jonathan Coachman. I liked him. I was happy when he got the ESPN gig. I was a fan of him as a heel character back in the day. I thought he was fantastic. I think he can talk. I think he's a fan. Number one, and those types of people you want working for you. However, what he like, and maybe it's a result of these Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, getting in Cole and Graves' ear with these shots, and Coach, but I gotta say, Coach does some stupid stuff. Says some stupid stuff on commentary. The big one that everybody was like going after him for was trying to imply that Ronda Rousey had time to rest in Nia Jax's bear hug, which completely did what if that's the case, then why is she using the hold? You're supposed to put over the moves.
Yep, exactly.
And he didn't do it. So, you deserve all the criticism in the world for that. And so what he does is he goes on Twitter, he defends his work to the death. And then after the show, when he's like carpooling to the next town, all these people suck his dick for retweets. And because he's insecure, retweets them, giving them the exposure they want because they don't care about him. They just want his retweet. And what it does is it gives him the self-affirmation he's actually doing a good job when he's not. And I would highly suggest, and I'm just gonna be brutally honest, he needs to know his product. It was forgivable for the first couple shows, but now just the egregious errors that I hear coming out of his mouth on a week-to-week basis. He's one of the worst commentators I've heard in a long time, and he's just a dick on Twitter, and I've kind of had it. Like whether I like the guy or not, I gotta call him out.
Call him out. He needs to be told. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to report without fear or favor. Fear or favor.
Yeah. And then he's going after the Dave Meltzers of the world, and he's just bitter and sour, and he just needs to do a better job, and that'll solve all this.
Well, they all go after Meltzer because they know that's how you do it now. I mean, look, I'm no dummy. That's why Dave Meltzer's in our bio, and that's why people, I'll retweet every time people love our bio. Meltzer's a hot topic. I'm sure that's why Bruce Pritchard picks on him and Eric Bischoff and Coach. They know if you go after this guy, you're going to get a reaction. So I think I honestly don't even think that Pritchard, Bischoff, or Coach hate Meltzer. I think they just do it for the reaction, which is very smart.
Well, what happens is on those shows, if you listen, they'll preface oftentimes, especially Eric, preface what he's about to say with, "Listen, I like Dave, but
right.
Blah 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 blah. He lied, and I don't think he lied. In fact, I'm sure they were talking to him back in the day. And there's that video that came out of WrestleMania at Wale Mania, not this past WrestleMania, but the WrestleMania before that, where a very drunk Bruce Pritchard's like giving Dave a hug, and he's like, "Oh, I actually like Dave." So
It's
yeah,
all an act, but it's fun. It's a fun act.
yeah, and yeah, I don't mind it. It's whatever. You just need to take it for what it is. And as far as coach, going after him, like, just do your fucking job better, and you won't have these trolls coming after you. If you're good, you're good, and people are gonna give you credit for that, and then you retweet that rather than people saying, "Oh, cheer up, coach. You did good. I think you're good. I think you're a good commentator." Jesus Christ. It's half his fault and half the people's fault because they're like piranhas, like chomping for retweets.
Well, it's
It's
really all
sad.
Vince's fault for bringing him back.
I don't blame him for that. I thought Coach was good,
Oh,
and he's an advocate for the art. Because he,
yeah,
I know he went to bat for them to get the ESPN coverage.
yeah, but I don't know. I always like thought that was just like I feel like Coach has been in their back pocket forever. I don't even know if it's like Vince thinks he's talented. I think he just thinks, oh, this guy went to ESPN, we can use him to our advantage. Now he's gone, and this is what I don't get. Coach has no like. There's nobody that is going to tune in the Raw because Coach, who was on ESPN, is now announcing there. That's not happening.
But
I don't know if that would happen with anybody, but just like I'm sure no wrestling fan went to check out soccer because Todd Grisham was covering it. I just don't think those kinds of I think it's too big of a leap. It's different from when you say, JR is covering New Japan. Oh, I know JR. Let me try it out. You know what I mean?
yeah, and actually, that's how I found New Japan and took a liking to it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. But Jonathan Coachman, yeah, if what you said is true, and like he's been WWE's back pocket this whole time, what a sad existence that must be. I'll
Uh,
never forget the when they had the dispute with the Denver Nuggets over the playoff game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Vince went on Sports Center. I wonder if he handpicked Coach to interview him,
I'm sure he did.
to give him these softball questions so he could cut a promo on Stan Kroenke.
Well, that's what they do, though. I mean, they don't go on anything challenging. They had Larry King for years, and Larry was obviously not going to throw any fucking hard questions at them. And Sam Roberts, he actually said this when he had David Bixenspan on for their talk about is pro wrestling journalism a real thing. Roberts was, Bixenspan was like, well, they don't answer some questions sometimes. They only talk to the media that's nice to them. And Roberts is like, yeah, dude, why would they? I mean, they're running a company. They want their product seen in the best light. Why would they do it to some guy that tweets bullshit about them all the time? So I completely understand where they're coming from. I think it's up to the journalists to take a stand. And if you have that opportunity, do it. That's why I really respect Sam Roberts. He had Snuka on before Snuka passed away, and he actually brought up the murder controversy, and he did his best. He stayed professional while asking the question, which is really all you're asking for. And there's so many people as I found recently, maybe some people that have a documentary coming out July 12th who had the opportunity to talk to Snuka, and they made sure to not bring that up because they didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I think that's a really piss poor example of journalism, and really, you're wasting your opportunity.
Couldn't agree more. Much respect to Sam and to all the people out there on Twitter enabling the coach. I'm watching you. Fuck you. All right. We're going into the stretch run now. We got question 8. Grade Ronda Rousey's 5-month WWE run so far.
B plus.
Right on.
Do you agree?
I'll give it a B.
All right.
My thing is, again, I don't see the mic skills really coming along. Um, you never know. Some of these wrestlers, it's all a matter of flipping a switch. But I've followed her for a long time. As crazy as that seems, but yeah, she doesn't get it when it comes to promotion. Whether it was for her fights, and I don't think she is going to get it as far as these talking segments go that they like to do. But I wouldn't give her a manager because I think that'd be weird. I personally I think it'd be weird Paul Heyman following her out all the time. I don't know. I just can't visualize it the way that a lot of people can. A lot of people think it's as simple as saying put her with Paul Heyman, and that's going to solve a lot of problems. I don't know. I don't know if she should ever have a manager. I don't know. Very agnostic to that fact. But I will say one thing that she does get is the in ring. Maybe it's we talked about Ken Shamrock earlier being a pioneer for this type of stuff. Maybe it's the MMA fighter, knowing how to throw a punch already, and then just knowing how to take something off of it to make it look good, and then from there, that's the base of your offense. And then, although her wrestling punches aren't really that great, it's more the selling, which a lot of people criticize her for doing too much of, even though she's so good at it. So there's a lot of oxymorons with Ronda's wrestling persona, if you will. And I'm not too big on the outfit either, though it is growing on me. So I'm sure 3 months down the line, I'll be fine. I'll be totally cool with it. But I'll give it a B. And then the booking's been up and down too. But I think this is and I think that she's going to be just fine.
I have no idea how you can hate the outfit. I mean, that woman she's so goddamn hot.
It's more, well, you know what? I don't hate the outfit. I just don't know. I don't think it's a great fit. But then she comes out and she looks like a tilted kill waitress.
A tilted kill waitress that'll fuck you up?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you're right.
Listen, I mean, I could go either way with the manager. I don't know. Heyman has done wonders with people, and then he's also shit the bed with Cesaro. So who knows? Maybe you don't. Curtis Axel too, right? Maybe you don't need Heyman. Ryback's, that's a different story. But I don't know. I think she's getting there. I think she's improving. I'd like her better in the prepackaged vignettes, like when her and Angle talked before Mania, and I liked her with the backstage thing with Renee this past Monday. I like that stuff. I think it's more natural, it's more organic for her. And but no, I've been pleasantly. I mean, look, I didn't really have low expectations for her. I'll be honest. I thought she was going to do well, just because she's a fan. Like, she's an actual fan. She's not a celebrity who the story's not this. The story is not Ronda Rousey got beat, lost all this momentum, and then shifted over. The story is Ronda Rousey got beat, realized she could have a different career and pursue another dream, and she's doing it. Any celebrity, I don't know, I shouldn't say any celebrity, anybody that likes what I like, I'm a fan of. She loves pro wrestling, I love pro wrestling, you love pro wrestling. So I'm happy for her. I thought the match with Nia was great. I thought that they did a tremendous job building up, not building up, whatever. I thought Nia, that was like her best performance ever. Like, the series with Bliss, the storyline was good, the matches sucked, and then Nia hasn't really had a lot of big marquee matches, despite, this was an issue that Troy used to bring up a lot. Was it Troy? I don't know if it was you or Troy, but that they push her as this unbeatable monster, but she has nothing really to back that up. So I thought this was a great
we both
yeah. And then my only other thing is for Nia, really, because Ronda, I think I agree, she'll be fine. I love the angle on Raw. I think everybody's going to turn around and everyone's going to support her with this, and it's going to be fun watching her in Bliss. But Nia, we went from Nia being this monster to being a bullying victim to kind of being like a cocky jock, all within the span of a month, to challenging Ronda Rousey. to uh now she's what, the victim again after Alexa Bliss beat her up, and Nia's apparently her arm is broken or some bullshit. So I think they're really just all over the map with Nia, and we've seen what she can really do in the ring. You got to hone that down. You got to give her a character. Let us sink our teeth into it. Is she a monster? Is she a hero? Pick one that we can get behind.
I think she's got to be a monster. And I also think that the potential certainly existed for a great match with Ronda. Just given the mesh of their styles. Styles do make fights, right? And Ronda likes to
Absolutely.
throw people around. She can actually throw people around like a lot of wrestlers. They'll like the Brock Lesnar's of the world. They'll throw you no matter whether you want to go or not. And Ronda's another one of those. I don't know if Nia is. A lot of people have questioned her actual strength, and it was always funny because as jacked as Triple H always was, he never really used power moves in his moveset either. So there's like a real paradox with like certain wrestlers' strengths. But having said that, I think that as much as I didn't like the challenge for the Ronda Rousey match, remember that they were on like that red carpet. They just threw that
Yeah.
at the beginning of Raw. That was so bad. And again, play to the strengths. I don't want to hear Nia talk. I don't want to hear Ronda talk. I want to hear them. I want to watch them fight, though. I think I'm down with that. I want to hear Alexa talk. I want to hear Alexa wrestle. I want to watch Alexa do a lot of things.
Oh,
But I guess it just kind of plays back to, going back to the whole theme of this, which is play to strengths, hide weaknesses, and you'll be good to go. But yeah, I still think there's plenty of upside. The booking has been hit and miss, but I think it's a lot of trial and error too, because no one's done what Ronda's done, and it's gonna be a learning experience for both parties. So
do you have a word for the hour, like Coach?
no, please don't compare
All
me to
right,
Jonathan Coachman again.
all right then.
Question 9: What is the late Vader's legacy in pro wrestling?
Well, I think that for a generation of fans who grew up in the early 90s, Vader is the biggest monster, the best big man of all time. I think for us who grew up in the late 90s, he is the badass who tore up Boy Meets World. And I think that,
And Mick Foley's here.
and McFoley's here, right? Well, that's something a lot of people didn't even mention, which is really crazy when you think about it. Um, I mean, look, I always love Vader. I think he real. I think he played. Talk about playing to your strengths. I mean, that guy had his character down pat. Great matches, great intensity. He had Harley Race as his manager. I thought that worked really well. He had that cool mask in WWE. He had a great entrance. It's Vader time. But look, what Vader's death really comes down to is WWE fucking up and not giving him his moment in the sun at the Hall of Fame. There's no reason why this year's class could not have had Vader. This year's class fucking sucked. I talked to Gib about this. Other than Goldberg, the Dudleys, and now the Dudleys you could have even waited. You could have waited probably another 10 years. But other than Goldberg and Jarrett, there was nobody deserving. Nobody. I mean, look, Mark Henry's deserving, but you could still wait. Like, why is Mark Henry a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's bullshit. This guy was sexual chocolate. This guy was he sucked for like the first 10 years of his career. So this is a spot that you put in somebody like Vader, who, if you're thinking in Vince McMahon's mind, I want people that are going to draw money and interest. Vader, as we've seen, is still, he's still a name. He's still a guy. He's got pop culture connections. He's got wrestling connections. He was in AWA. He was in Japan. He was in WCW. He was in WWE. This guy has done. He was in TNA for a little, a couple stints. This is a guy that really it's such a tragedy that he knew his time on Earth was ending, and they didn't give him really all he wanted. It was a dead man's wish, and they wouldn't grant it.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's pretty sad um, to think about. But again, and we known that he was on borrowed time for a long time, maybe even the last 2 years, better part of it. The guy wrestled everywhere, literally, like you said. He and he developed this unique character for himself, where I'm not really sure what the character was, but he was a monster, and he was gonna kick your ass, and he wore a
Yep.
cool mask too, and he smelled really bad. Apparently, that's what a lot of the people close to him would say. Hey, best big man ever. I wouldn't say that, but I
Who
would
would you
say
say?
it's not about who I would or wouldn't say. I'm not sure if he would be,
Okay.
but I would say I would give you maybe the most influential in terms of his ability to be a character, his ability to have high profile feuds and not be this stoic monster. To have great matches. A lot of these like quote unquote monster heels, they were kind of building for the Undertaker, right? They were nothing. They were just guys the Undertaker would beat. He could do a program with anybody, and it wasn't going to look out of place.
Pronouns, pal.
Vader was gonna. You got me there. Yeah, I wouldn't say that his passing was unexpected. I think that this is one that I think again people saw coming for a long time. But he'll be missed for sure. And you know what? I don't like. It's interesting that you brought up the Hall of Fame. I don't look at the Hall of Fame as a big deal at all. I know who the great wrestlers of all time are, and it's cool. It's cool to see them get their recognition, and because there's not really like a pro wrestling Hall of Fame that is like high profile. This is kind of what we have. So it would have been a nice moment for him and his family. His son, for a while, was a wrestler, and he was pegged for big things too. I don't know if you know much about him. He was a football player at a big school, but then he left for WWE and he was in FCW for. I think his name was like his last name was character's last name was White. This is gonna bug me now. Hang on, Jesse White. That's it, Jesse White. I don't know what he's doing now, but okay, and I'm kind of rambling. But the first thing I was thinking with Vader is and I kind of mentioned this a couple minutes ago, was the Mick Foley ear incident. Because before I really like took the deep dive in wrestling, I was given like a bunch of books by my mom's friend who's a big fan, and one of the books was Mick Foley's "Have a Nice Day," which now sits on my bookshelf over here next to the Eddie Guerrero story. But in the pictures in the middle of the book that you'll oftentimes get with those biographies, one of them is this graphic picture of Foley lying on the canvas in Japan after, or no, it wasn't Japan. It was Munich, Germany, when Vader took his ear off. Just blood coming out. It was a nasty photo. But after that, whenever the name Vader came up in wrestling, I was always like, oh, Vader, the guy who tore Mick Foley's ear off. And that's kind of how I always looked at him. He was a phenomenal talent.
Which is a really cool thing, though. I mean, nobody else really has that. I think Killer Kowalski tore somebody's ear off in like the 50s or the 70s or something. But like for a modern day injury, for something that like if you were to talk to a non-fan and you were to tell them something like that, that's something they would think is so cool and they would never forget. And it's just Vader had that like crossover appeal. He was this guy that, if you were just flipping through channels and you saw Vader on TV, you're gonna remember him. You're gonna sit there and watch. He played this tremendous, and now you got me thinking about the best big men. I think if you were to argue it, people would say Andre, Undertaker, and Vader. I think they would be the top three. And
What about Big
I
Show?
think no, no way, no chance in hell. And I think Andre's later years would probably hurt the argument. So then you're down to Vader and Undertaker, and if we're talking girth, Vader wins, but just height or overall build, I guess Taker would win. But I mean, Vader's that good. He was tremendous. He would do 450 pounds doing a moonsault off the top. I mean, I could start playing after basketball, and I'm close to 450. So so I'm just trying to stress the amazing, I mean, you see it online, everybody's tweeting it. And you mentioned Mick Foley. I mean, there's a guy that for a year now has petitioned for Vader to go in the Hall of Fame, and Foley would have been a natural to induct him. It's such a shame that I mean, that's what his death means to me, is that this was a missed opportunity. I mean, yes, the guy had an incredible career, incredible legacy that's there, but it sheds a bad light once again on WWE, and I wish that it could have been different.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're giving Dana Warrior Warrior Awards to give out every year.
Where the fuck is Evan Cross when we need him?
I'm gonna get him on here, I promise. And there's gonna be an epic rant, like for all the times, as Santino Morello would say. Um, if one more note on Vader, when Troy and I were interviewing Sean Oliver last December, one of actually I think this is just straight out of his book. We were interviewing him for his book Kayfabe, and one of the, not to spoil it, but one of the stories about Vader was basically that Sean was starting the interview with him for a supercard, and I think Vader was like, "Hey, stop! Aren't you going to give me a proper introduction?" And Sean was like, "Oh, I didn't know. We just kind of shoot from the hip." And Vader was like, No. I'd like you to give me a proper introduction, please." So Sean talks for about 2 minutes, rattling down Vader's accomplishments, his various stops in the business. And then once he finishes, he goes, "Vader, how you doing?" And Vader goes, "Thanks, happy to be here." After all that, it was just kind of cool. He seemed like a cool guy, a real straight shooter, and I think he'll be missed. And I think his legacy is evident, very much so. Last question, John.
Here we go.
We've made it to the end. One thing, and I know you watched this because we kind of bonded a little bit over it on Twitter the night that it played. One thing you did not know about the Hardys that you learned in their recent WWE Network special.
Well, I am kind of surprised this hasn't gotten a lot of press. But in that one clip where I think it's Jeff and his girlfriend walking outside, and Matt is with them, and they have the microphone on, and they're talking about Jeff owes him money for pills. I mean, and the girlfriend says, "Oh, watch what you're saying. The mic's on," and then they laugh and try and change the topic. I mean, is that not a smoking gun or what? What is that, man? That is insane. Why? First of why did they not do it? Like, why does the company have that and not like, I don't know. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe after that they were like, oh, you should go to rehab. But like, holy shit, is that not the craziest thing you've ever seen WWE put out?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like how the cameras work there. Like, are they watching you all the time? Is everybody mic'd all the time?
I mean, I guess so. I guess for something like that. But I mean, that was real. Like for a company that cares about its image so much. That was really like mind blowing. Like holy shit, you guys know this is going on, and this is what we get all these years later. Thank God they're both still alive. And I really didn't know that. I guess that they both were on. I didn't know that they were both in a rough way. And it really is a miracle that Matt has really cleaned himself up. And Jeff, he had that recent DUI, and it was telling that Matt said, I needed 24 hours before I even could speak to him. I mean, that was really something. But I don't know. I mean, that whole thing was incredible. It's the best thing they probably have ever done on the network. Just to come, and I always
Wow.
say this when they do these like revealing documentaries, or even with Flair and Charlotte's Second Nature. I really don't know how these people have the courage to put their whole life, like the worst parts of their lives, how they have the courage to put that out there. If I'm Jeff Hardy, I do not want to see this shit brought back up. If I'm Matt Hardy and I've got my two kids and my wife, like I do not want this out there again. Like I want it to be blocked out. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but I really do think it takes a lot of courage for all these people to agree to put their darkest, deepest, toughest times out there in the public spotlight.
Yeah, pardon the pun, but I thought it was a very sobering look at what the Hardys have been up to the last few years. I knew about Matt's struggles. I remember back in college that fall semester freshman year, like for about a month or two, every week the news story was what kind of crazy video is Matt Hardy putting on YouTube this week, and he's got problems and he needs to go to rehab and this and that. And then one day, apparently he just cleaned up his act, and then he popped up in Ring of Honor, and then he started doing his new TNA characters. And a part of me always thought, like, is this like influenced by his reckless behavior, or is this him like thinking outside the box, like in a very sobering type of way? And that kind of blurred the lines for me. So when the Broken character came out, and he was this crazy, he was kind of channeling this persona of his from a bygone era. That was surprising to me. What I didn't know though was that his problems were really beginning at the end of his WWE run. Like they were playing they played a clip from, I guess, a DVD they were filming, and it's just Matt like asleep at the wheel basically,
Yeah.
with the mic on, and the producer going, Matt, wake up. He's just like drugged out on pills. It's terrifying. It was very scary, and I'm happy both those guys are alive today. And
They,
plus,
yeah.
think about all the TNA footage they used in that too. Like that's like become like a new thing. I kind of like it.
I like it too. I mean, it was cool for Bischoff to talk about when he had to stop the Jeff Hardy Sting match and all that. I mean, that was really, I don't know. I mean, these two guys, they've been wrestling their whole lives. They have an incredible legacy, an incredible story, but it does, like make you think back in, I guess when you and I were getting into it, early 2000s or whatever, when they were doing all this crazy shit, like it did take a toll. Like no, wrestling's not fake. Beating your body up with these dives and tables and ladders, and it's gonna mess you up. You're gonna be hurting. You're gonna need pills. You're gonna need alcohol, or you're gonna need something to help your body because it's just not made for that. But when I don't know, I guess when you grow up watching wrestling, you just think, oh, it's they're good at their job, they can handle it, and then they move on to the next show. You don't really think like, God damn, it takes a toll.
Yeah, I'm surprised the whole documentary didn't get more press as well. There was a lot to decompress coming off of that, and I learned a lot from it. I'll just say that up front. Um, I like that they kind of ran the gambit. Like it wasn't all bad. Like they talk. I mean, they really went into great detail about their addictions, and they even played video from the. And I shouldn't be smiling at this because I know it was a very serious time. But Jeff talking about CM Punk um, in that video where he's like, you take Ambien. You're not straight edge. It puts you to sleep, motherfucker."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a meme before memes were a thing. But yeah, I'd recommend, if you haven't already, check out NXT Takeover Chicago 2. Check out the Hardys documentary, the WWE 24/7. And then Money in the Bank too. It was a good show. But there was a lot. Again, it just kind of goes back to the other thing we've been talking about, which is that there's so much content to watch, and it's gonna be impossible to touch all of it. But if you can, make sure to get your eyes on that Hardy's documentary, especially if you're fans of them, and I know a lot of people are. So.
And then when you need a break from watching, you feel free to read all the great content over at thewrestlingestate.com.
Yes, I second that completely, John. What have been some of the big popping articles we've got coming out over there over the past week or so?
I just want to throw this out there. Everybody has been contributing, besides Devontae, who I don't know what the hell he's doing, but everybody else has been contributing, and everybody's killing it, man. I mean, Calvin, I know you loved his piece on the Ric Flair. If Ric Flair could win one more world title, when should he have done it? I thought that was fantastic. Gibb, we mentioned his MLW piece. Like I stress, I get excited when I talk about it because people have acknowledged that we cover all kinds of wrestling, that we're not just WWE. We do the indie scene, we do Impact. Now we're doing Ring of Honor, which Steven Jackson, a new writer from the UK, 26 years old, guy's doing a phenomenal job. He's already done 3 pieces, which is more than Devontae. So I'm really telling you, it's really everybody's killing it. I mean, your series on TNA, I'm excited because I'm an Impact guy, but I don't think I've ever watched the first show, and I don't even like full show reviews. But yours was very entertaining, and I love that. So there's just really so much going on. We're covering everything. And I want to make a point to say right now, if anybody's listening, that uh, if you want us to cover something, as somebody had asked me, I think this week, why don't you cover blank? Well, it takes two to tango. We are not going to give coverage to something that doesn't want to help us out. WWE is the exception to that rule. I mean, technically, we've never reached out to them, but I'm sure we'd get denied anyway. But they're the exception to the rule. If another promotion, if you want us to cover another promotion, they have to either agree to someone has to agree to an interview, or just something. You got to give us something in order to be covered. ECWA. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, to be fair, though, didn't WrestleDelphia get credentialed for the first NXT in Philadelphia?
Yes, but, I mean, that was on WWE's part, that was a different circumstance, don't you think?
How so?
Well, they're entering a new market. It's this pet project that Triple H has. I'm sure they want it. And even now, Triple H does the NXT conference call and stuff. I'm sure that they didn't see anything bad about that. They want as much press as possible. But also, I don't know. I mean, so many people cover WWE that I don't know. We get lost in the shuffle. I personally don't find it exciting. I don't find it interesting. If we're talking old school stuff like we do with the roundtables that has WWE involved, I find that to be much better. I find that to be fun. But there's nobody out there covering like we do. Nobody out there's giving all these different companies all this coverage. We get exclusive interviews. I mean, I think we're the only people that get Tommy Dreamer for every House of Hardcore show. We've got this great relationship with Impact, this great relationship with MLW. It's this huge momentum. And I talked to you last time. I think I mentioned, Lucha Underground. They're kind of dragging their feet. At first, I was told we'd have an interview before the season premiere, and then I never heard back when we went to finalize. But I keep getting these press releases. Well, look, and this is not the company I was talking about earlier. Like, look, I'm not going to. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to give you coverage of what you want us to cover if you're not going to give me an interview. It's like what we spoke about earlier, where these people don't use the opportunity they have in these interviews to ask the right questions. Like, I'm not going to ask anything scandalous about Lucha Underground. I don't give a shit. But I want something exclusive. I want something that differentiates us from everybody else throwing up a press release. We get that with ECWA. We get that with MLW. We get that with Impact. If you're not going to play ball like them, you're not going to be on the wrestling estate.
I fully subscribe to that line of thinking. We've had some great content. Yeah, I especially got to put over Steven's recent Ring of Honor stuff. It's a part of the wrestling landscape that I think our sites had been lacking in, and now is no longer lacking in, and can now kind of turn our Ring of Honor coverage into a strength of ours. Again, accentuating strengths, hiding weaknesses.
And I'll drop some news right now. There's one thing our site is missing. What do you think's the number one thing our site is missing?
A podcast.
Well, but we technically have a podcast.
Well, we will when people actually hear me say that. So,
yeah.
What do you think?
The number one thing we're missing is a woman.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
We will have a woman. We will have a woman very soon, and unlike the Impact thing that I said, this is confirmed. This is definite. I have her article in my grasp, but we just have so much content out there right now. We have so much stuff going on that I'm waiting for the right moment to drop it, and that is not at this time. And then, of course, we have the big unification show with Team Left Jab. That's going to take up the entire week. So, but yeah, we've got, we ended the sausage party.
That's good. I remember WrestleDelphia had a woman for a while.
Yeah, she was good, but she's like a legit reporter, I think, in like the suburbs of Pennsylvania right now. I still follow her on Twitter. She seems like a good girl.
Gettysburg,
there you go.
Yeah. That's good. It's not the Team Left Jab girl, is it?
No. This is somebody that will hopefully also help us get into video.
That's good. Although I know she should start doing video, so it's funny you say that.
We're making moves, Good Willie.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I like it. I'm all for some diversity, even though wrestling is a product that for historically has always been catered to men. So it's only natural that we're gonna have more men writers, but no, I like it, man. That sounds great, and I'm looking forward to everything we've got coming up, and having the surplus of content is really a great problem to have.
Absolutely.
WWE, it works for WWE. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, so if we can get get a piece of that, maybe.
I'm glad we got the podcast back as well. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a blast, man. 10 questions. I think that's going to be the format going forward. We'll touch all the bases. Sometimes we'll slow news weeks, but when we have that allows us to, incorporate, some more fun questions. So, yeah, this was great, man. If people want to follow you on Twitter, how would they go about doing that?
The Wrestling EST. That's where you're really going to get me. My personal Twitter's really just been for inside jokes for my friends and pictures with old ladies at parties.
But if they wanted to see those pictures,
of course.
How would they go about doing that?
I appreciate you forcing my hand there. Not ready. Number 4 radio.
Excellent. And yeah, you can follow me, your charming host, Jack Goodwillie, at JackGoodwillie. I love talking wrestling on Twitter. It's kind of what my Twitter is now, really. I've always had this sort of identity crisis going on, but now it is like Wrestling Estate personality and columnist and reviewer. Strap a rocket to this thing, baby. Let's go to the top.
Oh yeah, big push coming. Huge
big push. Good. Well, anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. On behalf of Editor-in-Chief John Corrigan, I'm Jack Goodwillie. Take care.